This is TWiT.
There's one thing in today's bill that is very distressing to me.
Yes, I know what it is. They're taking out Notepad.
Search.
The widgetization of search. Is that what it is?
Yeah, they're doing a bunch of tweaks to the search capability that's going to be in Windows 11. So right now, if you click on search, that's pinned to your taskbar or through the start menu, you come up with something that has your recent apps, has top apps, recent apps, quick searches. Quick searches are things like movies, markets today in history, right? So what they're going to do is take all those things that are in quick searches that are kind of like low key, kind of buried a little bit in the current search, and they're going to really make them front and center when you click on search. So it's going to almost look like the Bing image of the day from the descriptions of this. It's going to have like images, word of the day, holidays, and I'm like, nope. No and no. I don't want that. I don't want any of that in my search box.
Yeah, it's just garbage that you're not looking for. It's extra.
No. And you know what? I'll tell you, I don't know if you guys have this experience or if anybody listening to the show is having this. Search, for me, is barely working in Windows 11 as it is now. Like when I click on that search bar, that search icon in my taskbar, I'd say about 8 times out of 10, it crashes. When it doesn't crash, it takes forever to load. I'm like waiting for it to load. Waiting. I'm like, what is going on with search, right?
The thing I like about search in Windows 11 is that I have spent the past 2 months writing about Longhorn again. And when I search for Longhorn, the thing that comes up first is Longhorn Steakhouse, a casual dining restaurant chain.
Handy and useful, right?
Yeah, you guys get me. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, the first thing when I saw all these search things was there's got to be a way to turn it off. There has to be, right? And there is. They give you instructions in there. There will be a way for individuals to turn this off. There will be a way for admins to turn it off globally for their users. There's going to be ways. But I don't like that they're doing this. It's like the MSNification of everything. And we don't need that. We don't want I agree with you.
I had this weird thought today when I started reading the blog post describing these two new inbox apps, as they call them, in Dashbox, right? They're in the box, which there's no box, but whatever.
Right.
These new features to search and elsewhere. And I'm thinking to myself, there's a group of people, they listen to the show, right? They may not be the normal people out in the world per se, like average consumers. They're tech people, whatever, that look at Windows 11 and they say, I like the way this thing looks. What I want them to do is update everything, right? You've got these mail and calendar apps we've been talking about that need this one Outlook replacement. Modernize all the UIs, right? I don't want to see Windows 95 UIs, Vista UIs, Windows 7 UIs, Windows 8 UIs. I want everything to look the same. And I've sort of cautioned people like that in the past, like that's never going to happen, But I think this kind of drives that home, right? They're pushing forward with new stuff. And I don't mean this in a cynical way. It's just the reality of the situation. It's fine. I mean, it's just what it is. But they're going to provide new UIs for new things. There will be some major things like the One Outlook app, that will come. But the search thing is interesting because search, again, not to go back to Longhorn, but that's when they were talking about search and database-backed file systems and yada, 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 and all this stuff. Yep. Apple showed off instant search and Tiger. This is like from 2005, maybe, a long time ago. That doesn't work today in Windows. Like, it just doesn't work. It's almost 20 years later. We still don't, this stuff doesn't work, but they're not focused on that. They're focused on video editing and family safety through what used to be a Windows Live service, and just making search. Forget instant search. Now it's going to be cute, Mary Jo. You don't have to worry about search. Just look at all the fun stuff that's in search. You went to find something, and we're going to show you something. It may not be what you were looking for, but it will be very graphical.
Right. And, right now, across the top bar, when you click on the search box, it lets you search within apps, within documents, within the web, right? So at least you have this image in your head that you're kind of constraining your search. I don't even know if that even works, because most of the time it doesn't for me. Oh. But now that's gone too, right? So when you click on this, there's just a search box. So if I type something and I'm like, I wonder if it's going to search my email, there's no way to even see that, right?
Yeah. Okay. So there is an email a choice, but it's in a drop down. So presumably that would appear in the results, although
But you
does that
don't
work
know
for
from
people?
their new design. All you see in the new design is recent along a left bar. You see a big picture, and in their picture, it's got like a picture of Earth Day, right? Trending searches under that. I don't care about trending searches. I don't care about Earth. I hate the Earth, okay? I hate it. Right? Like, I just...
Wow.
Guys, you know
All
what?
right.
When I click on search... 9 times out of 10, I'm trying to search something in my OneDrive or on my PC. I'm not trying to.
And
do
this is where
any
actually,
other
see, this to me is where Windows falls apart. And
right?
I'm searching for files. That's period.
Right.
I mean, and that's me, but whatever, that's fine. But
Right.
that is where Windows search falls apart. File search.
Yeah.
And in the start, in Windows 11, when you type, I keep typing Longhorn for some reason. I can't get this out of my head. It wants to autocomplete Steakhouse now. That's hilarious. Anyway,
Yeah.
You type Longhorn and it says Steakhouse. Oh, I get it.
It actually
Longhorn
adds Steakhouse to the end of it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what I'm looking for is files. And like Mary Jo said, I can go to the Documents tab, and it shows me a couple things. But then at the bottom, it says it's only a couple things, and it's not the thing I'm looking for. It's not the thing I was working on most recently, in fact. So one of the choices is search File Explorer. File Explorer. That takes a long time. It's searching your entire hard drive or whatever you have. And look, that stuff I know because I'm me. I mean, I know where it is roughly, but it takes it a long time.
Yeah.
And then there's no
does.
ordering. There's no way to say, well, okay, sort this by most recently accessed, sort this by location, sort this by date. That's not there. It's very primitive, despite the fact that, again, Microsoft executives stood on stage 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago, and showed us how awesome this was going to be.
Right.
It's just not there.
Yeah, I worry about this stuff. I know everybody's, and Micah always says this jokingly, I hope, that I hate consumers. I don't hate consumers. But you know what?
I would never say that, by the way.
Micah always jokes about me hating consumers. But
it just means you love enterprise. That's all.
Right. Yeah. But this isn't even about that, right? Like, this is just about make search work on my PC, whether I'm a business or a normal user. I just want, like, when I type in the search box, I want you to find the results that are on my PC. That's what I don't care about the Bing results. I don't even care about that. Like, I don't want you to give me an image of the day. I don't want you to show me the word of the day.
This way they
I don't know what it is, but
the
I'm really in the
usership
mood
of
for a
Bing
steak restaurant.
is up 100%. You're not even using
Yeah.
Bing, but you're using Bing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a way to turn
You are
that
using
off?
No.
I think there is, right? Can you unhook Bing from this? I think there is.
No, I don't think so. Not that
Oh, well, that's really
that was
terrible.
a big controversy, if that's true.
That's terrible.
Well, let's take a look.
I know,
That really
I'm
is
looking
terrible.
too.
That's not good.
I think there must be a way.
I don't want Bing in my search results. I mean, I might.
Or you should be able to choose, right?
I want to be able to turn that off.
That.
I think
I don't.
Everybody, this is a very common thing. For some reason, operating systems think, oh, you're searching. You should search more than just your hard drive.
Yes.
You should search the world. And I see this.
It sounds like a good idea until you actually see search results and then you realize.
But people also want to have a tool that does what they expect it to do. They don't want additional stuff cropping up.
Well, right. Okay. You guys, you're asking for an impossibility. This thing should, it should work well from the get-go because most people aren't going to screw around with it and configure things.
Yeah. Right.
But there should be an option for people who really care to say, look, I'm only ever going to want to search my hard drive or my documents folder or my OneDrive, whatever.
That should be available.
And that does not exist because that's not within the business goal of this interface, right?
Yeah.
It's
There's
not.
it's not just a.
I'll tell you who hates consumers. Microsoft. I mean, that's a little user hostile, I think.
Yeah.
That's saying your
right.
needs are trumped by our business interests.
Yeah.
Look,
well,
I don't think most people. Most people don't think of this, but when Apple got up on stage yesterday, or Microsoft gets up on stage on whatever time, or Google or anybody, they're presenting things that make sense to them as a business, but they're selling it in a way that makes sense to you. You as the consumer hear all the good stuff about you, and when you hear. You can search across your hard drive. You can search across the web. It sounds good. It makes for a good demo.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds
but really,
good. That's right.
the point of this wasn't we want to help people. That has to exist for anyone to even use it. But the point of this is, how can we make this viable as a business for us?
Right. And everything points back, right? Everything they're doing with Edge, with Windows 11, points back to them trying to grow two things. They're trying to grow Bing's market share, and they're trying to grow their ad share through Bing, through MSN, and other similar properties. That's what they're trying to do, right? I get that's their goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think like when you're using search inside of Windows, you have to use, I don't know if is it Bing that you're using?
I just looked at, I don't
PC?
see any, it is Bing. And because when you go to a web, it comes up on Bing.
I know on the web you're using Bing unless you switch out of it, but like
right.
internally?
And the only reason they let you switch out of that in Edge is because that's the expected behavior of every single person on earth who uses a web browser. If Microsoft made a web browser that only searched with Bing, no one would use it.
Right.
That would literally be a non-starter for people, right?
That's true.
So they can get away with it in the OS just like Apple gets away with it in iOS and Google does in Android because it's not really advertised. You're just searching they don't really push the Bing notion of it.
Right. It doesn't tell you how you're searching.
The web.
Right.
You're not searching Bing. Yeah. But if you if you do look at one of those results, you'll see it's Bing. It is Bing.
Yeah. All the web results you get through search are definitely on Bing.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's understandable. I mean, I just
that part doesn't really irk me as long as it works and as long as it isn't slow. And those are the two things that are not true of search in Windows 11 right now. Right?
Yeah, it's not.
I want them to fix search. Like this, searching inside of an operating system is kind of one of the top things that people do, or I would imagine that people would do. Right? I don't know. So the problem is, I think I think this applies to a lot of people who listen to the show or watch it. Because you're technical and because you've seen limitations when you use standard UIs, you develop your own way of doing things. Right. Right.
So and I have things. It's an odd thing from when I am going back into my archives, right, for this article series. I'm actually accessing those files from a NAS. But if I have to search for something that's somewhere in those archives, I search the version up in OneDrive because for whatever reason, when I search from OneDrive, that is actually much faster from a web browser. So that happens to work really well for me.
It totally does. That you're right. For me, it takes a while to like first index that, but once it does, then it does search much faster.
I have navigation issues with OneDrive on the web, and that's whatever. But as far as like, all I have to see is where it is, and then you can right-click and show. I don't remember the exact phrasing, but it's basically show containing folder. I can find out where it is, and then I just go look at it on my NAS. It's just. I know it's a goofy workaround, but for me that just works well because the default UIs in Windows are just not of any interest to me. Like the start searching, you're asking questions. I had to go look at it. I'm like, I don't even use this thing. And now I use it, and I'm like, oh, that's why, because it's terrible. Yeah. So this thing I've been writing about for 2 months doesn't even come up, which I think is unbelievable. I just don't understand. I just don't understand how they thought this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very strange.
Well, it's not what you want, it's what you're going to get, and that's all that matters.
That's a good point.
I wonder, okay, I'm super curious what kind of feedback they get from the insiders on this. Like, are they just going to be like, yeah, that's beautiful, I love it, it's like the image of the day, it's a great thing? Or are people going to say, guys, like, why are we cluttering the search box even more than it's already cluttered? Like,
do they remember there was a really good disk search tool called X1 way back in the day?
Oh, boy, yeah.
Do you remember that? I wonder if they're still around because... I mean, this is an opportunity for somebody to do a really... it was always faster than Windows search.
There was a version of Windows, it might have been Vista, but it might have been post-Vista, where they would index the drive.
Yeah.
And so, because you have to, right? That's how you get instant
Windows
search
does it
results.
now.
You have to, you index, right. But but the way this used to work was literally the second you stopped interacting with the computer, it would start indexing the drive. And the little light would come on, and you'd hear it. We had hard drives back then, so you'd hear it. It would go, brrr, and people would say, "What the heck is this thing doing? I'm not even using it." It's like freaking out. And Microsoft said, "No, it's okay. We're indexing the drive." It's like, "No, I don't. I'm not using the computer. Don't do anything." Like, what are you doing? And I I don't know. I honestly, these features probably are driven by feedback. I bet these pretty pictures you're worried about in start search are going to drive usage. That's the point of it. People are like, oh, look, a picture of a kitten. You know?
Yeah, X1 is
a lot of
around.
people like the image of the day.
X1.com is $79 a year, though. Chat room saying there are 2 free things that do this called Everything and Ultra Search. So you could just install a third-party search and you wouldn't get the picture of the day and all that stuff.
Okay.
I liked X1 because it was so fast. You type one letter, it would give you all the results.
Yep.
Then the second letter would narrow it. Third letter would narrow it. So it was very, very fast. And it could search into emails and stuff like that.
I don't actually care enough. I didn't care enough to look, but when I was writing about this stuff, like I said, Apple did this incredible demo for Tiger, whatever year that was, 2005-ish, where they did instant search. Same thing you just described.
Spotlight.
You type a letter.
Yeah.
It comes up. I wonder if Apple has kind of toned that stuff down over the years just because, like Windows, Microsoft has. Because people probably just don't use it that much, you know?
Maybe that's it. So, yeah, it doesn't do that narrow down thing anymore. I think that's probably because we have millions of files now on our hard drives, and the indexing takes so long, and to keep it up to date, that is using a lot of CPU power.
Or a lot of people probably just use files up in the cloud. I don't know.
Can you not still, though, hit Windows key and start typing? And
yes, you can.
So that's the search I always use.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what she's describing.
That doesn't pull up Bing pictures when I do it.
No, it does. So, yeah. So, or will. This is what we're talking about. So, the way it works in Windows 11 today is you get the default view is called All, and it's a combination of apps. I don't know why apps would be. Well, I guess I do know why. Apps, documents, web, and then there's a more drop down. You get email and other things. And the first column is best match. This is where I see that Longhorn Steakhouse thing. It's the best match, despite the fact that I've never selected it and have tried repeatedly to ignore it. It keeps showing me Longhorn Steakhouse. And actually, on the right side, it says open results in browser under a picture of a map where I can see the Longhorn Steakhouses in my area, and it's a little Bing symbol right next to it to let you know that's how it's going to work. You know.
Yep.
Now you could go over to apps and just see the Longhorn related apps on my computer, of which there are none, and then documents, and that it still amazes me. There's 3 documents in the list, and I have possibly accessed 10,000 documents just with the name Longhorn in there.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable how worthless this is.
Right.